Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please, guys, participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1. You will hear a conversation between an employee at a temping agency and a student. You have 30 seconds to look through questions 1 to 10.
Hi, am I speaking to Betty?
Yes, this is her.
Hi Betty, my name is Greg and I'm calling from Westminster Education's Supply Pool and Temping Agency. We received your email yesterday regarding our job ad looking for primary school teaching assistants. Do you have a minute to talk?
Oh, hi. Yes, sure.
Great. First of all, let me just check I have your details right. Is your last name Andrews?
Yes, that's correct.
And your email address is betty1994@memail.co.uk.
Yes.
Excellent. So, can you tell me a bit about yourself, Betty? First of all, are you still studying at university or have you graduated?
I'm in my final year at the University of Westminster, where I'm doing a Bachelor's of Modern Art.
And you're looking for a position to start in September?
Actually, it would be better if it started in October, if that's possible.
Most schools in the area look for people who can start in September, but there might be a few who might be able to work around a later start. Let me make a note of it. Okay, so why don't you start by telling me why you're interested in working in a school?
Well, I've been thinking about my options with the degree I'm doing, and all of my teachers and lecturers have always said that I'm a very patient and communicative person, and that I'm particularly good at explaining things, and my thesis tutor actually recommended looking into becoming a teacher. So I did some research, and I was told that the best way to become a teacher is to start as a TA. So my plan is to work as a teaching assistant for a year, and then I'd like to apply for a postgraduate certificate in education.
Right. And is there a specific reason why you'd prefer to work in a primary rather than a secondary school?
Yeah, the thing is that while I really enjoy learning about modern art at university, I don't think I'd like to just teach one subject when I become a teacher. I'd much rather teach a few different subjects to have a bit of variety, you know? And I'm also more interested in teaching children than teenagers, so primary sounds like the best option for me.
So I see that at the moment you're living in Southwark. Do you know by any chance if you're going to be staying there after you graduate?
Yeah, I'm living with a couple of friends, and we've got a contract until the end of next year, so I can't see myself moving anytime soon.
Great. Could I have the full address, please?
It's 12 Maymouth Street.
Could you spell the street for me, please?
Yeah, it's Meymott.
Thank you. And the postcode?
That's SE1 8NZ.
Is that M as in Mike?
No, N as in November.
Great, thank you. So, the good news is that we've got a few different schools near your area, so it all depends on what you'd prefer and your qualifications. First of all, you are interested in full-time, right?
Yes.
And would you be open to any evening work?
I'm afraid I've got classes in the evenings because I'm tutoring 2 students and I'm also studying Chinese, so I wouldn't be available.
Right, no problem. And do you have any experience with SEN?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Special Educational Needs.
Oh, I'm afraid not.
No worries. We run a workshop every other weekend on SEN, which you might find useful and which will definitely improve your chances of getting a position in one of our schools.
Yeah, why not?
Great. I'll discuss this in detail with you when we meet. So what I would like to do next is arrange a date for you to come to our offices so we can have a more in-depth chat about your options and how we can help you. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Would you be able to come this Friday, the 17th of February at 11 a.m?
Yes, I think so.
Perfect. 17th of February, 11 a.m. it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just remembered. I've got a class on Friday mornings. Could we do it a bit later, after 1 p.m.?
That doesn't work for me. How about the 21st of February, same time?
Yes, that works for me.
All right, next Tuesday then.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just to speed up the process of signing you up, it would be great if you could bring some documents with you. I'll email you a list so you don't need to write anything down.
Okay.
So we would need to see your passport, as well as a recent bank statement or any other proof of address. For example, a letter from the doctor or the government. Normally we'd also ask for your university degree, but since you haven't graduated yet, we just need to see your acceptance letter.
Okay, cool.
I'm also going to email you an application. This is for the disclosure and barring service that you need in order to work in a school. And if you could print it off and bring it along completed, that would be great. Oh, and please bring both the originals and photocopies of all your documents if possible.
Yeah, okay.
Great. So we'll see you on Tuesday then.
Thanks so much. See you soon.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear a radio broadcast about architecture in Barcelona. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 11 to 20.
Welcome back. You're listening to Salt FM, and this is Silas Harker with Worldwide History. This week, we've been looking at different famous and fascinating buildings from around the world and exploring their history, and tonight we'll be talking about the Palau Güell, or Güell Palace, in Barcelona, Spain. The Palau Güell is an Antoni Gaudí building, one of 12 in Barcelona, and one of his earlier works. Gaudí, for those of you who don't know, was a 19th century Spanish architect and a unique representative of the Art Nouveau movement in Spain. He was born in Reus in 1852 and lived in Barcelona from around 1870 until his death in 1926. Gaudí's most famous building, of course, is the Sagrada Familia, also located in Barcelona. But the Palau Güell is just as brilliant an example of his modernist vision. The story of the Palau Güell starts in 1885 when Gaudí was tasked with designing a palace in the city by Eusebi Güell, a wealthy count and textile industrialist. The palace needed to serve not only as the count's home, but also as a suitable venue for expositions and events. While the Palau was to look majestic and impressive, there was little space for it to do so, with a basic surface of 18 by 22 meters, or 59 by 72 feet. It was therefore imperative, as you can imagine, that the palace was functional. Gaudí certainly delivered, adding, of course, his own distinctive touch. There were 2 large front entrance doors for guests to enter and exit by horse-drawn carriage. There was a carriage hall in the back with spiral ramps for the horses, which led directly to the basement and the stables. The basement was also where servants slept. The ground floor was designed to be the building's centerpiece, with a library for Guel, administrations and working rooms. The main entertaining room was also on the ground floor, and it had a domed high ceiling where lanterns were hung at night to produce the impression of a starry sky, so you can picture how impressive it must have looked when guests entered the palace. Guests would have been hosted in the receiving room on the first floor. Quite interestingly, the receiving room had small viewing windows on the walls, hidden by intricate woodwork. Those were added to the structure so that Guel and his family could sneak a look at their guests from the floor above before greeting them, and perhaps adjusting their attire if necessary. There was one more floor, or rather an attic, over the family's private rooms on the second floor, and this was where the house personnel resided, and where the kitchen, the washing rooms, and the food locker could be found.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20.
The Palau Guel truly is an astonishing building. In true Gaudi fashion, it has a stunning entrance with eye-catching chimneys and wrought iron works. Inside, the ceiling is decorated with precious stones and the roofs are covered with beautiful wood. The whole palace is an elaborate construction combining the finest materials from pottery to stone and glass. The inauguration ceremony for the Palau Guel took place in 1888, which coincided with the Universal Exposition being held in Barcelona. Though the building itself would not be fully complete until the following year, and the chimneys on the roof wouldn't be added until as late as 1895. As its name suggests, the Palau Guel originally belonged to the Guel family, who lived there from 1888. The Count and his family stayed there until 1910, when they moved to a mansion inside the enclosure of the Parc Guel, another Gaudi project Eusebi Guel had commissioned, this time in the high part of Barcelona. The Count's daughter, Mercè Guel, remained at the palace until 1945, when it was sold to the provincial government of Barcelona under the condition that it would be used for cultural purposes and its spirit, so to speak, would be respected and preserved. In 1969, the Spanish government declared the Palau Guel a historical artistic monument, and in 1986, exactly 100 years after Gaudi started to design it, it was listed as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The same year, the Barcelona Provincial Council established a restoration protocol for the building, following an in-depth analysis of the palace's history and its artistic and sociological background. Restoration started with the chimneys in the early 1990s, most of which had sustained irreversible damage to their covering. The coverings had to be rebuilt with the help of several Catalan artists, who admittedly did an impressive job. By 1993, renovation work had begun on the inside of the palace, and in 2004, the Palau Guel closed to the public, not to be reopened until May 2011, when restoration was complete and all the structural issues in the stonework had been solved. Today, the Palau Guel hosts exhibitions and collections, as well as concerts, performances, and poetry readings. It can be hired for cultural and educational activities, and it continues to receive thousands of visitors every year. So, if you find yourselves in Barcelona, do make sure to pay the palace a visit. As is true of all of Gaudi's brilliant work throughout the city, you won't be disappointed.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Hear an applicant be interviewed for a place on a master's degree course. You have 30 seconds to look at questions
Hello, James Southgate, isn't it?
That's right. Pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Matthew Forsyth. Please sit down.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for your interest. We were all really impressed with your results in the admissions tests.
Thanks.
Shall I call you James?
Please.
So, James, as we explained in your letter, those who achieved satisfactory results in the admissions exam would be invited to an interview, and this is why you are here today.
Yes.
This is the first part of the interview, and I believe everything was explained in the letter.
Absolutely. If I'm correct, we will be discussing my application form and experience in this stage of the interview.
Absolutely. And in approximately 45 minutes, we'll go on to the group dynamics.
Absolutely. If I'm correct, we will be discussing my application form and experience in this stage of the interview.
Absolutely. And in approximately 45 minutes, we'll go on to the group dynamics.
Perfect.
So, your first degree was in communications?
Yes, but I also took extra modules in media studies for my final year.
And you graduated in 2005, is that right?
Yes. And I have been a teacher since then. I worked as an assistant teacher in New Zealand, and I was there for about 30 months, or 2.5 years, from 2006 to 2009.
Well, that's interesting. Why New Zealand?
I'd always wanted to go there. My uncle moved there when I was 7. He and my cousins would always come and spend most summers with us here in the UK, but I never really had a chance to go and visit them. My aunt is a teacher, and once I got my degree, she managed to get me a job there.
And that was at Wellington University, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
It's a big university. I've been there myself a couple of times. And what did you teach?
Oh, a variety of things. I used to cover for some of the permanent teachers, so I had the opportunity to teach English as an additional language, writing for scripts, and what else? The history of radio and television.
Right. Quite a variety then.
Yes, and I also ran some video editing workshops.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
It was great. Obviously, if I'm honest with you, there were times I didn't really know what I had to do or if what I was doing was right.
Why's that?
For instance, once I was told to step in right in the middle of an EAL lesson because the teacher was feeling sick.
Pardon my ignorance, but what's EAL?
Oh, excuse me. English as an additional language.
Right.
So I was asked to step in right in the middle of the lesson, and I had no idea what was going on. But because I had some experience teaching English in Argentina during my gap year, they thought I'd be able to just stride right in and pick up where their teacher left off with their lesson.
Uh-oh.
Yes, but the problem was that they were all medical students, and they'd been practicing very specific vocabulary, most of which I had never even seen before.
I see.
But in the end, I did manage to explain the situation to the students. They were quite good about it, and we ended up having an interesting conversation about the differences in public health in the UK and New Zealand.
It sounds like you handled it well after all.
Thanks.
And why is it that you want to do an MSc in history?
Well, I've come to realize that teaching is what I want to do for a living. Although I did enjoy my time teaching English and media studies, history has always been my favorite subject. And when I had the opportunity to teach the history of radio and television, for example, I remembered how magical it was for me to explore the past in order to better understand where we are today and how we got here. I used to love history at school.
Well, I have to say I am impressed with both your work experience and your passion. So, now I'll ask you to quickly take me through your studies from...
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
You will hear an introduction to a creative writing course. You have 30 seconds to look at questions 31 to 40.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the first week of our creative writing course for beginners. This course looks like the busiest one yet. Believe me, it's so nice to see so many of you here. My name is Thomas Rugeley, and I'll be your teacher/instructor for this course. Teacher, because I will be teaching you some of the most common writing strategies used by modern novelists and writers, and instructor, because I will also be coaching you on how to put these strategies into practice. As you can see from the first page of your programs, today is really just an introductory session. I'm going to be talking you through the course itself so we can make sure you know exactly what's going to happen during the 2 hours you'll be spending with us each Thursday for the next 12 weeks. First, let's cover the basics. This is a creative writing course in the 21st century, and as such, I don't expect any novelists to be handwriting their 300-page books. Instead, the vast majority of our work will be done digitally. You're more than welcome to bring your own laptops to class if you'd rather, though we do also supply our own equipment here. Having said that, tablets and phones are not considered appropriate for this course. So if you want to use your own machines, they have to be appropriate, portable computers with a relatively up-to-date word processor installed on them. If any of you are not that comfortable with your typing skills and feel that you might get left behind, just log on to our learning platform using your student details. You should have all received these by email, but anyway, they should be in one of the forms on the welcome pack I'm about to give you. Just log into our platform and download the typing trainer. You'll see that your typing skills will drastically improve in just a couple of hours. Also, if you're using your own equipment, it's a good idea to arrive half an hour earlier next week so that you can copy over all the files we'll be using in the course. This is a 12-week course, with the first week being a simple introduction and get-together, and a formal exam in the last week. That then leaves us with 10 different modules to be covered during the term over the remaining weeks. The first module is all about character development. Next week, we'll be discussing and experimenting with various character development techniques. This is, in my opinion, the heart and soul of creative writing. A writer can have a very sketchy plot and yet manage to produce a great book if their characters are strong enough. Not that I'm trying to belittle the benefits of a well-thought-out plot. On the contrary, and that's why they're the topic in the following week for Module 2. I simply believe that you cannot have a good story without solid, plausible characters. Anyway, as I've just told you what our topic is for Module 2, let's move swiftly on to Module 3, which is all about points of view. You need to understand that the speaker, or the person you decide to tell the story through, has a crucial effect on the reader's experience. During this module, you'll be practicing different techniques, such as writing in the first or third person, and writing from one character's point of view or those of several different characters within your books. Description Strategies is the title for Module 4, and here we'll be exploring how to depict the world of your story and the people who live in it. The following week, you'll revisit the characters you created in Module 2. It is essential to keep revisiting, revising, and adding depth to the relationships between your characters if you want to create realistic and interesting stories. So that's what we'll be doing in Module 5, which is week 6. After that, we'll break for 2 weeks for half-term. That should give you plenty of time to get the basics of your story together, main characters, plot, and locations, before we can move on to Module 6. After half-term, we'll be discussing and experimenting with some basic principles of writing engaging dialogues. So this is where your workload will be more than doubled. Make sure friends, family, the dog, and the cat know that you'll have no life as of week 8 of the course. Voice is the topic for Module 7. It's directly connected to Module 3, as we'll be exploring how to give the narrator or narrators of your story lively, compelling voices to engage and arouse the reader's curiosity and keep them reading. During Module 8, setting, you'll have the chance to go through what I like to call the creator's checklist. It will help you master the art of devising a dynamic world full of interaction, struggles, and conflict. Then we will move on to beginnings. For me, the one aspect which is more important than a good ending is a good beginning. It's your business card, the photo in your passport, the suit you wear to a job interview, and no one will continue to read a book if the beginning is not engaging. It's the rod, the line, the bait, and the hook for the fish. So in Module 9, we'll be exploring what should be revealed, hinted at, or withheld in the first chapter of a novel. Santosh Kalwar once said, "Every beginning has an end, and every end has a new beginning." In Module 10, we'll be exploring how to design endings that give readers a sense of closure without closing the doors on the possibility of a sequel. And finally, drumroll please, your extended assignment in Week 12. You'll be asked to write an extended piece of fiction based on specific circumstances which will be provided to you on the day of the exam. Those of you who look horrified now can relax. This extended assignment is worth just 50% of the course marks, with the other 50 based on your performance throughout the course. We do believe in continuous assessment, so don't worry if you don't feel like you're...
That is the end of Part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.